What's up everybody, thank you for checking this video. Today I'm gonna tell you why I personally think Windows is a terrible operating system. Before starting, I want to do a little disclaimer. First, this video is not sponsored by anything or anyone because most likely it's gonna be problematic. I'm gonna have a lot of bad comments and weird feedback, but we'll see how it goes. Second, the most important thing is that all of the things that I'm gonna say in this video are my personal opinions and they come from a user experience point of view mostly. And also, I'm gonna talk about Windows out of the box. So before you start writing in the comment section, hey, you can change these settings, so you can go here and do whatever you want, I'm gonna use Windows. I'm gonna talk about Windows the way a regular average user uses it. It just buys a computer, opens up, signs up, creates an account, whatever, and then just uses Windows. It doesn't spend hours in the settings, customizing things and all the other awful things that you can do in Windows. And lastly, I'm not gonna touch all those very common and well known issues about Windows, like the blue screen of death that now it's black apparently, the old constant updates, the privacy issues and all the other crap that everyone knows. I'm gonna talk, as I said, about Windows in terms of user experience, why I think it's terrible for the user that wants to actually use an operating system. So let's get started. Why is Windows a fundamentally terrible operating system? The short answer is because Windows is not doing what an operating system should do. And the follow-up question is, of course, what does an operating system do? Like what it's supposed to do? An operating system, as a general term, as a general usability thing, it should be that little layer that it's in between your hardware and your applications. It's that thing that allows you to use the applications that you need to use and enables you to use the hardware that you have in your computer. A good operating system just gets out of the way, stays in the background, empowers the user to use all the apps that they want and to do whatever they want. Windows does exactly the opposite if you think about it and if you start noticing how Windows behaves. Windows, it's always in the foreground, always trying to remind you how cool Windows is, always trying to prompt you with a notification about new privacy settings that you should change, or tries to tell you, hey, use this app that is actually totally crap and nobody's gonna use it, or it constantly tries to remind you of all the things that you can do in Windows. It doesn't matter what you as a user are doing in the moment, what a user is doing, which application you're using, how many resources that application needs in order to function properly. Windows always steps in the foreground and takes over because it needs to remind you of how cool Windows is. Both the user experience and the user interface of Windows are not that great, and in general, they've never been great. If we go back in time to a time where Windows was a beloved operating system, like Windows XP was like the most famous and well-reviewed version of Windows. I personally liked Windows XP a little bit, but if we take a look at that interface, we can see how it was full with rich colors, big toolbars, big buttons, large things left and right. It was that the user interface of Windows was the king of the operating system. It was the king of your computer because at that time there weren't many applications that you were using. Yes, we had games and we had text applications, but a lot of things were mostly done in the computer. Internet wasn't a widespread. Overall, the usage of computers wasn't as widespread as we have right now. Right now, every single one of us has at least one computer in their household, and probably even more. But at that time, having these very predominant type of user interface made sense because there weren't many applications that needed all that much space, all that much attention. Today, it's completely different. Today, users, you particularly, you don't need to use the operating system. Today, when you turn on your computer, you don't think, oh, I wonder what settings I might change in the Windows system or preferences panel. No, you go online, you open your applications, you go on YouTube, or you just start Photoshop, whatever you have to do, you don't care about the operating system. But if we take a look at the user interface of Windows, even if we consider the new fancy Windows 11 version that it's supposed to clean everything up and make something like really something super cool, it's kind of the same. Yes, the modernity of flatness or gradient and blurs and shadows and all those crazy fancy things took over the interface, but still pretty much identical. We have large toolbars with big buttons, we have many toolbar buttons, we have the same type of layout, and Windows never wanted, and it never wants to get out of the way. It wants the user interface to be always there. Like, look at me, look at my icons, how complex they are, super fancy they are, look at me, look at me. That's what Windows feels like when you use it. The user experience is frustrating at best. Using Windows is not great. Even if you get used to the user interface, and even if you get used to the idiosyncrasies of using their toolbars and their menus and their file manager and all the kind of stuff, Windows feels slow. And one of the many reasons why Windows is slow, it's because it's always doing something in the background. Because, as I said, Windows doesn't care about the user. Windows always care and only cares about itself and about other Microsoft products and not the user. So it doesn't matter what you're doing, unless you change your settings to tweak the performance. Windows will take over your CPU, your RAM, wherever processing power you have left in order to do things that Windows needs to do at that time. So we know automatic updates are terrible, you always experience constant slowness and stutters, and in general, applications that work both on macOS or Linux, Windows, they feel slower on Windows. Unless you have the latest and greatest hardware and you're willing to spend a lot of money to always keep it up, until Microsoft, of course, decides to not support even 2 years old hardware, but that's another story. Other honorable mentions in no particular order are default applications are basically malware. What you get in Windows in the Microsoft Store is just plain useless. Important settings are buried behind many submenus. Notifications and the notification section is just plain useless because more often than not is a call to action to try something new or install something else or check the latest things or whatever. Windows feels like a giant implementation of Clippy. Do you remember that? So in conclusion, it doesn't really matter what the user is doing or what the user's workflow is, because Windows only cares about itself, only cares about creating a gateway to push Microsoft's other services and more Microsoft apps and more Windows-centric things. It doesn't care at all about how the user uses the operating system. It just wants to constantly be in the foreground, at the center of the attention. So Windows was never good, and even the latest iteration, Windows 11, it's not good, it has exactly the same problems. What do you think? Am I right? Do you feel the same? Am I an idiot? Let me know in the comments below, and if you like this video, please leave it a like, give it a thumbs up, or subscribe to my channel if you want. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye!